Hello guys and welcome to a very exciting video. Today I'm gonna be showing you my 4 games against one of the best chess players on earth, Arjun Erigaisi from India. And we'll start with the Blitz game, and the remaining 3 games will be in bullet time control, 1+0. This was played in, I believe, entitled Tuesday, 3+1. So let's see what happened. Arjun starts with c4, and I go e5, taking the center, knight c3, knight c6, all fury, knight f3, knight f6, d3, bishop b4. So I could play something like g6 here, as I, let's say, do in classical games and OTB games, but I'm trying to kind of get from playing this g6 move, just because usually d4, and then you know, there are some positions for black which are not quite pleasant, so I decided that against opponents of such level you gotta be trying to fight for the center as much as possible, and knight c6 and knight f6 is the exact setup that you gotta do here. So I go bishop b4, even though probably d5 is slightly better, just because you immediately tackle the center, but bishop b4 is fine, castle, e3, and now I decide to go d5, and this is, I think, is a very good position. Rook e8, bishop e2, I go bishop e6, now king d7, knight g5, he is attacking the bishop, I go rook d8, he takes, now takes, and here where the first mistake happened, he goes bishop f3. So, and you already see an arrow, and I couldn't see the move. So e4 here would have given me an absolutely huge advantage, just because after bishop e4 I have to take, and after takes I can play king d2, and I have 2 pieces for the rook, and after it takes I'm not only having 2 pieces, but I'm also attacking b2, I'm attacking f2, and something like rook d1 also helps me, just because I have rook b2 and there is no back rank checkmate. So this would have been a very good opportunity for me to actually fight for the advantage, but instead I played queen c5, offering a queen trade. So I couldn't play king d3, because after king d3 he takes, then he takes on c6. That was probably his main trap, just trying to make me take on d3, but of course I saw it during the game and I played queen c5, which is not best. He takes, and now plays bishop e4. My other idea was that if rook c1 is played, I thought that I could play rook d3, and the bishop is under attack. So he goes bishop e4, I go bishop b6, and now rook c1, and he has an edge just because he puts pressure on the c6 knight. He's quite solid. I play rook d6. g6 is not ever an option, just because I don't like something like queen g4, and then f5 is never an opportunity. Bishop on e4 is just an absolute menace, so it's tough to play. So I go rook d6, he goes king f1, and now I play g6. So king f1 is a mistake, but again, it's hard to understand why it's a mistake, because white have just a solid edge. g6, g4, as I said, rook d8, king e2, rook d7, b4, knight f7. I was trying to reroute my pieces, c6, knight d5, b5, takes. At least my bishop was kind of controlling everything at this point. So h4 is played, rook d7, rook a3, and now rook c7. The best would have been f5, and I kind of see why, because after g takes f6, knight f6, I'm putting pressure on this e4 bishop, and also potentially this pawn. Bishop f3, something like bishop f3 actually probably loses the game due to e4. Not loses, still a draw. But I played rook c7, I was trying to trade more pieces. He goes rook c4, I go back, bishop f3, knight c7 attacking the pawn, now knight d6, trying to get to c5, rook d6. And now you kind of see that he is slowly improving, and I just, you know, I cannot move my pieces. I go king f7, my bishop still controls, so that's a good thing. And now he finally takes a pawn. I go rook c8 attacking the pawn, rook c3, bishop c5. I was trying to set up a blockade, but doesn't work. Trying to create counterplay with this, a5. But now rook comes from this side, and I have no chance. Rook g7, rook g6. f5 a3, it looks like my pawn was about to walk all the way, but g6, g7 is coming, and I had no chance. And e7 takes, g7, pawn promotes, he takes with the bishop, and I lost the game. We move on to the second game that I played against Arjun. That was in bullet time control, and the bullet games are generally more interesting, just because sometimes I think I have more chances to beat this top guys, specifically in bullet, just because we both don't have time, both will make mistakes, and the chance of mistake is higher. and I think I'm good enough to use this mistake. So e4 d6, d4 e6, knight c3, play some nonsense, that's fine. Those GM do it all the time. Castle b5, I go f4, I'm trying to attack, bishop d3 c5, takes, and now e5. The idea is, of course, to go bishop e4. So I couldn't play knight e4 here specifically just because c4, and it looks like I'm losing a knight. So instead I have to play knight a4, bishop c6, b3 takes, and now knight b6 attacks this pawn. I go bishop e4, and that's a great move just because I not only attack the rook, I also make sure that he doesn't take on a4 because of bishop c6. So takes, this pawn is protected. I go a5, which is not bad. Bishop b7 was supposed to be better. And then I should be up a pawn. Now bishop a6 is probably not the best option. Bishop c6 is. And then I can simply develop my pieces. And this is a very good position for white. He goes knight c4. That's a very smart move. Rook e2 takes, and now c4. Bishop is about to be a monster on c5. Oi, that's my bad. So knight f3, he goes bishop c5, I go back, knight e7. The position is still somewhat equal. I go bishop b7, which computer thinks is a mistake, because now, I mean, he could have used it better, but knight d5 attack and f4 and also threatening some knight c3 ideas was a bit better. And also knight d5, I believe I cannot take on c4 due to bishop f3, and I simply have to play down an exchange. So he goes c3 first, I go bishop e5, king f8, and now a6, and I have a slight edge. So I go g3, king e7, rook d1, rook b8, and finally I blunder. Was supposed to play bishop d3, and then I'm still holding my position that bishop c4 just simply blunders because of the same bishop e3 idea, and now takes, rook d5, I'm playing down an exchange, but this is just too much for black. Rook c5, knight d4, knight f5, I tried to give few checks, escaping the checkmate, but of course there was no real chance ever. Tried to set up last step, if c1 promotion. He could have promoted to a knight and give a check and then take, but in bullet most of the time you have auto queen. So if queen, rook d8 is a checkmate, so that was kind of fun. So rook e8, rook c3, and of course, I mean, I have to lose the game. Now we move on to another bullet game. I hope you're enjoying this so far, enjoying how I'm getting beaten by one of the best. So, and now he has French defense. Bishop g5, e5, knight e4 is actually not the main line, but I kinda liked it. Queen d2, castle, f3, trying to challenge the center, he takes, knight f3, bishop b5, takes, and now queen f4. I'm trying to get h from the board, I'm trying to get knight g5, rook f1, and trying to attack the king side. He goes rook c8, I go knight d4, and now I just blundered in exchange. Basically, if b3 was to be played, I think queen c5 ends the game on the spot, just because I probably wouldn't find a way to deal with this rook d4 threat. But I played c3, I thought, okay, I mean, I'm playing down an exchange, but at least I have some chances. But b5, b4 is coming, and this was probably the fastest game he beat me in. King b2, I tried to do my best, but now, I mean, this is coming. And then basically rook d4, king d2, and I don't know, rook d3, king g4, queen g2, and you end up checkmating your opponent. King h5, king f4, and then whatever. And I think this is the most interesting game because I got a great chance to beat Arjun. So he played the same thing. I have a5, knight e4, takes, and now king d2, same, but he plays b6, bishop b7, plan knight e2, queen f3, knight g3, and I'm taking the pawn early in the game. So I'm up a pawn, he goes knight b4, and now I thought I'm in slight trouble just because he's attacking on a2, and he also attacking the knight. So I go king f3, which is not bad. King d4 was actually better for whatever reason, because knight a2, king b1, and let's say if knight b4 back, knight d6, I potentially attack the bishop, but I attack the knight primarily because I blocked the defender. So queen f3, he goes knight a2, I go king b1, knight b4, now f3 takes, rook d8, bishop c4, rook d8 c3, king c5 c3, knight c6, and now I go bishop d3, threatening checkmate. Not checkmate, but queen h7, queen h8. He could actually allow this to happen, but he played g6, which is smart. b5, bishop c2, b4, and that's the mistake. Because after bishop a4, he has to either get the knight back and lose this pawn, or sacrifice. He decided to sack. I go king c6, c2 is a blunder, and I blunder back. So what I was supposed to do is to play king c1, which I didn't really want to do because there are multiple checks, but you shouldn't be worried too much about check just because, I mean, they're nothing. So I now cannot play bishop c2, I think, because of rook c4, and you know, I'm losing the game. So I have to come up with a b3 move, which is kind of insane in a way, but it's best. And rook f4, I play rook d1, activate my rook, and I can't say this position is winning, but I have great chances of not losing it. But who knows, it's bullet, and I probably could have lost that as well. Now he had queen c6 and rook d1, which he missed. He plays king d4, and now once again I have great chance. I go rook c1, he goes queen f4, I take on c2, now I'm up a bishop. So queen c4, rook d4, queen c8, bishop b3, queen a5, and now it turns out it's a draw. Rook c1, queen f5, queen c2, takes, queen f4, back, now check, he goes e5, I go bishop d5, should have gone for queen c7, queen f4, and queen a7, and then I have at least this b pass pawn, which I could have used, but I played bishop d5, queen f4, queen f3, trying to trade queens as fast as possible, but it turns out to be a mistake as the position is now completely lost. King f5, king c4, king c5, I was trying to get to this pawn, but those pawns are too fast. So I go king b5, king c4, hold it equality, but now king just walks, pawn promotes, and Arjun wins the game. Unfortunately, I mean, I wasn't fast enough, I wasn't good enough, and he ended up, you know, kind of trolling me a little bit, and then winning the game. Yeah, just like that, the final score is 4-0. Kind of disappointing, but it is what it is. When you're playing the best, you don't really expect to win, but you gotta get better. You gotta analyze those games, and of course, you gotta improve afterwards. Hopefully, this was somewhat useful for you. Again, I don't really want to show you those losing games, because in some games I look like a complete idiot, but that's just part of the game. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the future videos. Bye bye.